Welcome to the Orthodontic Pearls podcast, where we share tips and tricks to better your clinic, business, and life. Today we have our honored guest, the braces guy, Dr. Grant Collins, as we discuss navigating tough challenges, our journeys in spirituality, and breakthroughs we shared from our weekend in Sedona, Arizona. And now your hosts of the podcast, Drs. Chris Teeters, Brian Anderson, and Andy Sarpadar.
All right. Welcome back to the show, everyone. We're recording here today in Sedona, Arizona, after a packed weekend of hiking, fancy dining, and some great discussions on relationships, spirituality, family, and balancing all that with our careers as orthodontic practice owners. Today, we'll share some of those insights we've had in a free-flowing conversation between friends. So start us off, Brian. How has your weekend been going?
Good. It's great to be here with you guys. And I think that the time together is always good with friends that you don't otherwise see very often.
What was your favorite moment of the trip, Grant?
First of all, I'm glad I got invited back to do this. I was kind of nervous for a while that but I think the hike was really cool to go out and do that with other guys. And I think one of my goals this year was to be surrounded by really good, positive, masculine energy, in which we're all so manly and stuff. So it was. I'm just teasing, but we actually just to bond with other men out on hikes, having great talks. We're all growth mindset where we're encouraging each other. We're open, inclusive, and we tend to just make each other better being around each other. It's Absolutely. not even like we have to say what to do. We just the energy around each other is collectively really positive and amazing.
It has been a really unique experience to spend a weekend with a bunch of guys and, not kill each other for one thing, but also just feel refreshed and, invigorated by it. How about you, Chris? What's been a couple of your favorite moments from the weekend?
For me, it was on the hike. We had a lot of great dialogue. And I think that men, when we get together, it's historically that we have to be doing something or going hunting or whatever, but we actually had a chance to really sit down over dinner, hike, and discuss really things outside of the practice. That we always talk about that second half of life and how we're so focused on success, and then learning how to take a step back from that and look at meaningful relationships. Most important thing for me is just from other podcasters that have told me to read Die With Zero, we're living that. We're realizing a lot of us are going to die with more in the bank than we expect, and so we really need to invest and use some of that time, the biggest currency we have, and even financial resources to do amazing trips like this. So for me, just overall, just the belly laughs, the cardio, the just really getting real with each other. I'd say it's real. It's been a real weekend. Has been something we need to do a lot more often, and glad that we had this opportunity.
Well, I appreciate everyone making the time because I know this doesn't happen naturally. We talk about these things all the time, but one thing we talked about this weekend is if you don't set a date and just implement, that goes for anything in life. We all understand this in our practices. We can all kind of get off the pot and just make that move. But in our personal lives, it's usually, especially for guys, I think, something that gets overlooked. So I'm glad that we were all able to set this time aside and do this very important thing here. So that's a nice segue into our first topic, which is on the nature of relationships. So I wanted to just kind of go around the table and discuss what is the value of relationships, maybe why are they undervalued for guys so much, and maybe some practical tips on making this a priority and why it should be. So why don't we, does anyone want to go first?
We'll start here. I think there's a lot to this question, and there's no simple answer because the answers are probably multiple.
Sure.
And, to varying degrees. And of course, when you consider individuals, then it's a whole other ballgame. But I think traditionally, masculinity has been defined by forging your own path. And I think you need to do that. To develop that side of you, whether you're male or female, right? We all have a mixture, a blend of these energies.
Sort of a rugged individualism is what you're alluding to?
Yeah, to some degree, yes. And so I think because there's this, whether it's cultural or inherent, biologically, genetically, or both, probably that's the case, I would imagine. I think our dualistic minds that can generally only grab one thing or the other tend to think, well, then men don't need close relationships because they need to be independent and they need to forge their own path, kind of a thing. And so we tend to devalue the relationships. And I think we miss out on a lot when we don't understand that, yes, it's true that we need to learn to be individuals. We need to learn to make decisions, be definitive, and forge our own path, as I've said. But we are so interdependent on each other. And I think having the humility to acknowledge that and to say, well, I want to strive for independence or interdependence is the best. I want to strive for that. But at the same time, like, right now, if things got bad in your life, that you would have to rely on other people so much. And that none of us, even if we like to think, oh, we're strong or this or that or the other, none of us are as strong as we really think. When you take away other people, we really are nothing. I mean, not much, right? Yeah. And I think people fall apart pretty quickly. And so I think, that's why things like solitary confinement has been used as like the greatest punishment for inmates. So I think it's traditionally undervalued, and it's good that we're recognizing that, we men are whole people, just like, women are whole people. And we have a balance of energies and things that really need to be reckoned for and accounted for.
Brian, on this trip, you brought up Eric Barker, which is one of my favorite authors. And Chris, I know you've read that book. Grant, I'm trying to get you to read that book. It's a worthwhile one. But he talks about, in his second book, this is the one that he did, Barking Up the Wrong Tree, which is about, the nature of burnout and setting correct goals that are in tune with your values and, defining what success actually is. In the second book, he gets into relationships a bit more. And one of the things that I took away from that was the intentionality of it all. So he goes into how it takes like a certain number of hours to become a casual acquaintance with someone. Then it takes about 100 hours of investment to become like a best friend. And in our busy lives, when we're so task-oriented, like you said, the masculinity, we're always focused on the task at hand or the accomplishment or the achievement. And if we don't make time for those 100 hours, it's going to be a very lonely trophy that you're polishing, in your mountaintop castle. But I also think that's part of what keeps us striving is that, nutrition is this way. If you're nutrition deficient in a certain mineral or a vitamin, then you start to crave weird things, right? And I think that maybe there comes a feedback loop at some point where we invest so much into our careers and into our success and into our outward displays of success that it never feels like enough, even once it's crossed the threshold of absolutely that's enough. You don't need that much. But maybe that striving is because we're deficient in another area of our lives, and we only know how to pursue success. So we just put more energy into that, and it's kind of like spinning our wheels, going in either you could think of it the wrong direction or a parallel direction, but it's like that's not the part of you that needs more nutrition. Right. It's like you gotta diagnose where the deficiency is and then invest a little bit in that, and it's going to be hard. It's like, hey, I don't like eating vegetables, but I can't solve my beta carotene deficiency by continuing to eat pasta. Right. So that's something that I've thought about and really try to become more intentional with scheduling time and investing in the relationships, making sure that you reach out to people, and just maintain that consistency like we do with so many other things in our lives. Grant, you have some thoughts on that? Yeah,
I mean, what you guys said both resonates with me, and what Brian was saying about, this is the lens I have at this point in time in my life, and this is the level of awareness I have. So my view of relationships is going to be based on where I'm at right now. Yeah. And what you guys were both saying, like I can relate to you, Andy, where you're like, hey, you can work your tail off and you're at the top of the mountain and looking around, but it's just you at the top of the mountain. And you're like, well, no one's around here. And you get to the point where you're like, maybe there are along the way, the journey is the thing, is with the people around you on that thing. It's not as much about reaching the summit as it is about even on the hike that we did yesterday, it's like, man, what was the best part? Was it the picture we took at the top, or was it the conversations on the way up?
Yeah.
Right.
Man, it was that's what we're going to remember. That we're going to remember the wrong turn we took on the way down, and Brian scaling the side of the freaking cliff, and we didn't know where he went for a second, but we created memories through those shared experiences on the journey. And I'm so grateful. Like, even you think of romantic relationships, which I think are helpful with mirroring certain things. You learn about yourself.
That's a necessary.
You learn about yourself through different types of relationships. You learn to love someone. You learn to love yourself. You learn to see the things that you need to see in yourself. But the thing that I experienced this weekend is just male companionship, which is so cool. I mean, like amazing. It's necessary.
Yeah.
It's healing. It's beautiful. So I think. Having that is a profound experience, and like Brian said, it's something that really helps your soul. It guides your soul. So I love it. I mean, they're important, but if you think they're not, they are.
I think the big takeaway for me was when you schedule something, it's real. Like you said, 100 hours to a best friend. Why don't we set that as a goal? We all have a goal for our practice. Let's get to a 2 million practice, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we take a step back and go, well, you can still pursue all that, but like, how am I going to get to be closer with some people I admire? And you're a product of the 5 people closest to you, so maybe pick those 5 and go after it. Be like, okay, my goal is this year is to get to 100 hours with these 5 people perhaps, and so I need to intentionally carve out this weekend, like look at your schedule for the year and schedule it, make it real, because if it's on the calendar, it's going to happen. If you say, hey, we should go to Sedona, how many conversations have we had with our friends where, hey, we should go wake surfing, or we should go to Europe together, and then another year goes by, and another year goes by, and another year goes by. You look by 10 years later, you barely even know the person. And, I think being intentional and, a pragmatic way of looking at this is set it as a goal, like your practice revenue goal is to try to get to an increased number of hours with people you admire.
That's a really cool perspective. I like that we all kind of bring slightly different perspectives. Like, one of the things that came up this weekend is like Chris is very scheduled, very routine based, very like, so it makes sense that and that's a very valuable feedback to those of us who maybe are not so much in that direction.
You were staring straight at me when you said that, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I feel seen.
I'm going to say it's a time
offended at the same time between me and Brian.
It's a time between you and Brian.
It really is.
And I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm really bad at that. But it's just like when I'm in front of you guys,
you might be worse. I don't know. You might be worse, actually. You just compensate better.
That is true. That is true.
You might be bad, but
I'm
we
going to
are
ask
worse.
David White.
Oh gosh,
he might think that you're worse.
Oh my gosh, David. Yeah, so that's another trip that we do. The last time we did a podcast like this was with David in Park City. And well, as long as you're in the group, I don't feel too bad.
Exactly. I hear you, brother.
I know I'm at least going to be tied for the least responsible.
I feel the same way, man.
I feel like with relapse too.
With dancing,
like with the dancing stuff.
Exactly.
It's like there's a part.
Here's another non-skilled dancer.
There's a part of me that thinks that's why I'm on the team. It's like
variety.
Brian. It's like Brian's vote's always a tiebreaker. It's like, hey, should we maybe try another dancer with the 5th one? Brian's like, no, not that guy. No, Andy's just perfect. Because I'll show up there. I'm like, Brian, did you practice this? No, man. let's figure it out.
I'm still getting it, man.
I'll get it by then. We always pull through.
We do.
The end.
We do.
Yeah.
But you watch it enough times to know that you'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
And then you practice it some. Yeah. And sometimes you get good at it, and sometimes it's just a little bit weak.
What's the diversity of talent up there that makes it relatable, guys? I can relate to one of you more than the others. I'm not going to say who, but there's a couple of you be like, I can relate to him, and I feel seen again.
See, it makes it accessible.
Yeah, it's
accessible. It's like you watch us up there dancing, and it's like, it's like I could do that.
Yeah,
it's not going to intimidate anybody.
You might have launched someone's dance career because of how bad you were. I mean, really.
What we're doing is we're setting realistic goals.
Exactly.
Hey, it's like you can't become an Ock overnight. You can't become a Doug overnight. It's like you got to start off as an Andy Sarpet or maybe a Brian Anderson after some practice.
Yeah, you got to do years in an orthodontist boy band, and then you'll get there.
Right, exactly.
There's a reason I have a guitar on me. I can't dance for anything, so give me a shot at that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, one thing I just wanted to mention about what Chris said, and it's been said by I think everyone here in some iteration, is I've realized more this year how you have to put formless things like thoughts, these ethereal things that are just floating around in your head, into form. And so when you put it down as a goal, you write a date.
Yeah.
It now crosses over from the formless realm into the world of form. So now it's a part of this world. So now we can interact with it rather than just some formless thought that, what is it? It doesn't even have boundaries. It doesn't have a name. It doesn't have anything, right? It's just this ethereal thing that you can't define. Well, now you narrowed it down to, here's the thing I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
So you're forced to confront it. And then you make a decision, I'm going to or I'm not going to. And I think you're way more intentional that way because you actually have to look at it. You brought it to life, so to speak. You put it on paper.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at it. Now, what am I going to do with it? Am I going to go with this idea? Am I going to kill this idea? And it forces you to make those decisions that I talked about, that I earlier talked about. You have to forge your own path. You got to make those decisions.
Well, I think that there's a balance with that too. You look at even how this weekend we got Chris's perspective. We're like, hey, we have to set a goal. We have to do this. But then you create some space to let it marinate and happen in a way that you don't have to plan too. So we create structure with the trip, but we don't create structure with what the interactions have to look like.
Right.
Because there needs to be that space to otherwise it gets to be, a little inauthentic with certain parts of it. So I like that we've planned certain parts, but then created that ability for us to explore the dynamics with us in a flowing way.
Yeah.
So then when you have that balance, that's where the special sauce for me is in relationships.
Haven't signed up for MOPC yet? Listen to this testimonial from the Braces guy, Dr. Grant Collins, on why you won't want to miss our 7th annual conference this October.
Oh man, if you don't come to the Mother of Pearls, you're going to miss an opportunity to connect with so many great people, learn a ton of great stuff. It's a very intimate, amazing session that we get to have with each other. I hope everybody gets to come out next year. It's going to be amazing next year too. We've got the educational side with lots of great speakers, great information, but also a fun side that is like coming together with friends, hanging out, doing fun things together. Not only in the conferences, but outside too. We're talking to each other about everything all the time. You really connect with people. It does feel like community. As far as the party goes, it's fun to get together. Getting an opportunity to play with the band Relapse is super fun. I mean, they bring such great energy. We all come and have a great time. I feel like a lot of the offices that work in Orthodox work really hard. So we come to learn, but we also come to have fun and connect with each other too. Next year's gonna be great. I mean, they're gonna have this in NASA, gonna have this in Florida. Like, I'm looking forward to it. I wouldn't miss that one at all. It really is a very unique conference. It's quickly growing to one of my favorites.
Register today as seats are limited and we sell out every year. Learn more by visiting orthodonticpearls.org on your computer or smartphone today.
Well, this was another thing we talked about a little bit, is the chemistry between members of a group, or even between different groups. It's like on our own, we do tend to polarize into our dominant energy, right? But if you're around other people, it kind of brings you out of that energy, sometimes painfully, sometimes annoyingly, but like it does push you out of it. Like I'll say on, with this group, not as much, but with our ski trip group, there's a lot of J's in that group. A lot of like, they're just like, it's basically like Chris, like everyone is like Chris, or it's to some degree, like not it, but except they're pushy about it, and David, yes, I am talking about you. But it's like everything is like we've got the time. We got the time that we're going to leave, and we're leaving asses in seat, or you're getting left behind. Is that kind of dynamic, and on a level that's good for me, because normally I'd be like, I don't set an alarm clock. I just kind of wake up when I want. And then it's like, well, why don't I have breakfast? I'll kind of get ready. And then by the time I get to the mountain, it's like all the parking spots are full. And I'm like, well, a half day is pretty much as good as a full day, Anyway, like you kind of go through the
What's sad, Brian, is you and I are less organized than him and less put together than him. So
I'll be a guy that'll be the first guy up there sometimes.
Oh, sometimes.
Yeah, I know that's also.
And I go to the
unpredictability makes it even more interesting.
Early, fairly often. Like I wake up at 5 and go to by 6 a.m. So I can. That's the thing. I'm a wild card. I can be very regimented and very like on schedule. But you talk about the
predictably
balance, right?
unpredictable.
Yeah, you talk about the balance. You talk about the balance. I mean, even in the interactions, you kind of have to have.
I go through spurts. It's
well, you realize you have to be in balance.
Discipline is a sprint, which is like the wrong way to approach discipline. I know.
Well, with Chris, it's a sprint and a marathon. I think.
I think Chris is just sprinting the marathon. I think he's a guy who can actually just sprint the entire thing.
Wow, is that guy still going? I don't know. He's done a couple marathons actually sprinting.
Yeah.
It's impressive, Chris.
One thing that I think is cool, though, just spending time with each other is you get to sense like each person has their own superpowers. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And of course, with those come deficiencies. Anytime you have real relationships, I mean, that's part of the fun is helping each other to see like, oh, here are your deficiencies, but I still like you, and you know what, you can like yourself too. But here's some things you can work on. I just think that's such a good thing. Yeah. And when you have I think men don't often talk about the feeling of safety, because again it goes back to this thing that we need to create our own safety, which is true.
Yeah.
But all of these thoughts, anything that is abstract, always includes all of the answers. Yeah. Right. So yes, we do need safety. And hey, we don't need it either. We need it because we create our own safety. You have to hold these two things simultaneously and believe in both of them because they both apply at different times. Yeah. And so you have to kind of know that they're both true. So at any rate, but men do need that just like anybody else, right? That like, hey, you can like forgive me of my deficiencies and the things that I, suck at or that I'm annoying at, but because you can see the greater me is good and you accept me.
Well, I found that too, in the friend groups, like this one is a great example, but that, are the most fulfilling. There is a profound diversity among the people in certain areas. Mm-hmm. And it's intriguing. It's nice. The dynamic actually works really well. I like that Andy's different than me, than Chris. Like we all kind of have.
He looked right at me when he said diversity.
Yeah. So I really, I just want to get that point across.
I want to get this out.
Yeah.
Am I the affirmative action pick?
Yeah, you are.
Am I the DEI pick?
It's the only reason why we invited you.
No, not for this.
Not for this. Not for this.
For the Bike Street Boys, yes.
Yeah. The Bike Street Boys. You were the diverse.
Clearly.
For sure.
Clearly.
We had to. They had to fill a quota.
At least my spot is safe. There's nothing safer than that.
No, but I mean, there's an element of that, but then there's a commonality. Like you can't just get, a bunch of people that are completely different and still expect it to work every time. There is a commonality that links you together in some way. But at the same time, I've found, like, I wouldn't want to go on a trip with 4 of me. I mean, I just, to me, that would be horrendous. I want to go in with people that are different than me. And 100%. I think that creates a dynamic that's interesting.
Well, what we talked about a little bit was this idea that your tribe or even your romantic partner is you are aligned in direction, but not necessarily in velocity or your methods, right? So I said with my wife, we're very different in the ways that we approach tasks. For example, one of the things we talked about was how you get information, how you do research or learn about something. My wife will get on the computer, no ChatGPT, she doesn't use that, and she will just find objectively like what are the reviews, where do most people stay, and she gets like a really great itinerary for a trip, for example, through this. And then my method is more like, hey, Brian, you were just in France. What did you do? What should I do and what should I not do? Yeah. And like, I won't do a stitch of research, but like I'll have an idea in my head. Mm-hmm. And what's kind of cool about that is, first of all, she's clearly the better planner than I am, but like she comes to me with these ideas and I'm like, well, Brian said that place kind of sucked. So maybe we should go here instead. Bad example, but you know what I'm saying there.
This trip with eating, you said that Jenny would research and look at all the foods and decide this is the one that's
when we're at a restaurant, at
a restaurant, right? And then Graham's like, I just ask, hey, what is the most commonly ordered item on this menu? Yeah. And that's usually a good.
But what's nice about that is that they're synergistic. So you get like a bigger vision of your direction, and then sometimes if one method fails or becomes frustrated, the other method goes around it and still arrives at that destination. So I think that
casting the net wider.
Yeah, and going in multiple paths. You know what I mean? It's redundancy. You could think of it that way.
That's really interesting too. You think of that. We stick on the restaurant example for a second because I know people that the first thing they look at is I want to go look at the 1-star reviews. That's where I always go first. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I never go there first. I always, if I'm even going to look at any reviews, I want to look at the 5-star. I want to see what people are saying that are good.
Yeah.
And it's just the diversity. It doesn't mean that other way is wrong,
Right.
or my way is right. It's just a different perception. And instead of me being like judging that and saying, hey, why would you ever do that? It's like, hey, I'm going to appreciate the fact that that's what you bring to the table with this dynamic. It's actually in a way kind of nice because I know that someone's covering something I don't naturally see. Yeah. That's somewhat a beautiful symbiotic, relate, or at least something that can help in a relationship that, I don't know, again, makes it intriguing, makes it interesting that way, whether it's romantic or friendship or, group dynamic. It's nice.
Everything aligns. Like the 5-star says, get the sea bass, right? And then, Jenny's research says, get the sea bass. And then you ask the guy what those people most commonly order. It's the sea bass. Like, hey, we're getting sea bass. So you can kind of arrive to truth by those diverse opinions that all forge.
I think that's the point. It's like, and you get there quicker and more stable.
Fellow orthodontists, are you ready to elevate your practice, connect with brilliant minds, and get inspired in one of the most beautiful settings in the country? You won't want to miss the 7th annual Mother of Pearls Conference at the Kennedy Space Center, where they have live rocket launches, meet with real astronauts, and party under the Apollo Saturn V rocket with dinner, drinks, live music from Relapse, and connect with 500 of your colleagues. Although you're going to learn a lot from our 20 speakers, including Ben Fishbein, Grant Collins, the Braces Guy, Dr. Brian Anderson, Brad Chevital, Tito Norris, Bill Lehman, David Lowe, and 20 more other speakers. You're going to learn a bunch from social CPE when you're connecting with 500 of your colleagues, learning about what works in their practice. Be sure to sign up today. You'll learn from the industry's greatest consultants, see some of the best exhibits in orthodontics to take your practice to the next level, and of course, connect with each other and create lasting memories with you and your team. Sign up at orthodonticpearls.org today.
Well, I mean, I think part of these group dynamics, part of assembling your tribe with the right ratios of different personalities and methods and stuff is the energy that kind of flows through everything. And I want to talk a little bit about how energy influences our life circumstances and vice versa. So we've tackled this a little bit. I've mentioned Maslow's hierarchy, for example. So with Maslow's hierarchy, it's basically your fundamental needs need to be met before you move on to the next higher needs. So for example, your need for food and shelter has to be met before you start thinking about self-actualization, which is at the peak of the pyramid. If you're thinking about where your next meal is going to come from, you're not thinking about developing relationships so much or developing your own spiritual journey. So, and vice versa, if your mind is constantly stuck in a negative state, you're not going to see the opportunities in front of you to advance to that next step. So I don't think it's as simple as it's all mindset or it's all circumstances. I think that there's this dance between the two. And we have spoken about this as it pertains to the seasonality of life. We have discussed before how when you first graduate, all you're thinking about is money. It's like you just got money, career, whatever it is. You need to establish yourself and get your flag in the ground, and nothing else really matters at that point. In school, we put everything aside. I mean, how many of us were going on like extravagant trips and like going on hikes like this when we were in the thick of school? But then once you reach a certain threshold, you have the opportunity to kind of branch out of that, but not necessarily everyone takes it. Sometimes you just get myopically focused. So at any rate, with that as sort of the leader, I just want to, hear from everyone your thoughts on the dance between your energy and the circumstances around you.
Again, I don't think there is a right answer. But the way that I see it is you really only have total control, and that's maybe, that can get really deep, but you have more control over your mindset than over your circumstances. I think we can all agree on that. You have more control over your mindset than your circumstances. And so since you have more control of that, if you can control your mindset, interestingly, your circumstances will start to change to match that mindset.
Yes.
Right. And I think you see that everywhere. That generally when somebody has a certain mind, like you don't find mismatches very often in terms of where somebody is mentally and spiritually and their circumstance in life, unless they're intentionally intentionally changing that, because like you have to satisfy, like you said with Maslow, you have to satisfy all the. It's almost you have to go through stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then from 5 you can go back down to 1.
Yeah.
But you retain all the benefits of 5. We talked about it with relationships that Grant and I have both been divorced, and that's really difficult. Excuse me.
Well, I think with that,
But
there's clearly a correlation between the two. But I'm talking like, is there a causation effect?
I think to some degree.
To some degree. I mean, I'll say
I think
one.
you almost like manifest what you're, because again, you make it from formless into form. So now in your mind, you're thinking of this and you start to make it into form in somewhere, or you put yourself in the right circumstance, or you put yourself with certain people, you put yourself with a certain job.
It's the idea
you tend to.
It's the idea that creation starts with thought. I mean, you can't create anything without a beginning belief or thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the idea is giving it momentum and being conscious of what those thoughts are. And it's not saying you suppress thoughts that are all negative. I mean, it doesn't mean you just, trust me, I've tried that. That doesn't work either. But you can be more conscious of it. And, even like, for example, like, I know this is getting a little off track, but let's go to an orthodontic clinic right now. Even if I have no idea what a solution is, just none. And whether it be I'm in a situation where I can't see it, I'll try to end the conversation with whoever I'm with is we'll figure it out. Because there's energy behind that thought too. And that belief that says, I know I'm going to figure this out. I can't say what it's going to be right now, but I just put that out as a belief, as a thought. And that creation can keep that momentum at least. Even if it's small to start, I got a flicker and the flame is still there.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten the fire started yet, but I see the little flame and I can just bank on that for now.
Yeah.
And then trusting, like, I'll get it. And how many times have we all been through that? Where it might, sometimes it takes a week, sometimes it takes years. But if you keep that belief, it will unfold eventually. Right. And so I think it's whether it's relationships or practice or whatever.
I think part of this idea of manifesting, or even we'll figure it out, is sort of an openness, a receptivity to what comes your way. And
you're going to put more energy there since you're like remaining open to it, like and committed to it. So you're going to therefore put more energy there, and then where you go, there you are.
Right. I mean, we've heard this idea, and we've all experienced this, where like, so when I was in high school, I think the Honda Element, that ugly friggin' car, came out. The only thing worse than a Tesla, by the way. But anyway, at any rate, sorry, I had to sneak that one in. But like I become aware that this ugly car exists, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing it everywhere. I'm like, who's buying these things? It's like I see more of these than I do any other car on the road. And I remember being so puzzled by this, like, how can there be so many of this car? I literally just learned about it, and all of a sudden they're everywhere. What a coincidence. Well, that's what I mean by this receptivity. It's like if you if you're tuned into that wavelength, there's a lot of stuff going by our heads that we're not conscious of.
100%.
And if you're tuned into that wavelength, you're going to start to catch those things. It doesn't mean that other cars don't exist. It doesn't mean that other things don't exist, but you just kind of become oblivious to them. Yeah.
That's so true. And it's just like you think of it too. I think actually this was from Anthony DeMello's book. He's like, he used the example of, an orchestra or something. If you get so fixated on the one instrument, think of all the other instruments you're gonna miss hearing. And it's the same thing. It's like if you're focused on, we're just gonna use a simple analogy. I see red cars everywhere.
Yeah,
I can only see red cars. Yeah. You're probably missing the beauty of the other cars.
Well, there's that too, because if you become a little too myopically focused, you do miss other things. So But I think that there's intentionality to where you focus.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
The conversation example too. It's a known experiment when you're in a social setting, let's say at a bar, and there's conversations all around you. But depending on what you focus on, you only hear the conversation between, like, let's say the four of us, right?
Right.
Or if you kind of broaden out a little bit, you can hear the background noise. You can pick up what this guy's saying or that person's saying. And so I think we all have to narrow our focus at times when we want to get things done. And other times it's nice to let go of that and appreciate everything around. Like, we all love music. We all play in a band. And I'll tell you, going from, I used to listen to, let's say, Michael Jackson's Beat It, and I would just love the vibe of the song. And now I can listen to just the bass and go, wow, what a great bass line. It's really cool
I
to be
think
able
it's
to
like,
dive in.
That's so interesting, Chris. And I think you think of it that sometimes we get locked in on a goal, but you got to be careful that it's not some attachment to outcome that you perceive as good and you're missing things that you could have. And you have to have the belief that says, I can pull myself back out and believe, what if there is a path that I missed that could be better? And have that, because if we get so locked in on whatever goal we think is best, well, who says it is best? We don't know for sure. I mean, that's what we've made up in our minds is best. It's like, well, my goal is to do this. That's great. All of us were there when we first started. Our goal is to build our practices to whatever we decided was best at that moment. Right. But you evolve. You're 5 years in. What if I have to take a step back, pull back a little bit, like you said, and notice some other things and be open to what if something unfolds that's better than I originally had planned?
Yeah, I think that it's, again, there's that tension between intentionality and receptivity.
100%.
And, we're going to get into spirituality in just a second, but that is a tenet of certain religions, where you have to sacrifice yourself to God's will, for example.
Right.
And I think that what that's doing, coming from a secular perspective, is you're being receptive to whatever is out there, and whatever comes your way is going to be good. Now, that's tough for me. I think it's probably tough for a lot of us to really commit to that, because it's like, well, that just sounds like you're just taking the easy way out. It's like, well, if it's like, my practice could be 2 million, but it could also be 1 million. That's just fine. It's like, I just don't want to work for it. There's that trap that you could kind of fall into. I think that the key there is to really establish your values and establish like what external circumstances you need to achieve those values. For example, we've mentioned before Scott Galloway and how he says that work-life balance is something that we should all strive for. He says, but work-life balance doesn't happen in your 20s. It doesn't happen in your 30s. It's like, if you want work-life balance, you get it in your 40s only if you sacrifice your 20s and 30s and had no balance then to achieve. So again, this comes back to that idea of seasonality. I think that there are times when we need to be very intentional and very laser focused on an outcome, but not lose sight of the big picture and make sure that outcome we've targeted is in service of our bigger goals.
100%.
For example, you can't do a lot of this stuff. We couldn't have this trip this weekend if we didn't have practices that allowed us to afford to come out here in both time and money, right? So all that work, it's not like, oh, we figured it out now. I wish I had known this back in residency and I would have just taken off and gone on hikes my whole life, And there are some people who do that and they're very happy. Yeah. So then there's that too. Like, is there a level that must be met?
Well, I think it is like the hike we took. It's like, you think of it like, we can set an outcome. We want to get to this spot. We want to take a picture here, but being fluid and being okay with saying, okay, we enjoyed this moment when we got to this goal, but now we go to the next step. We enjoy the moment always in the present. So maybe your goal is for your practice. It was 2 million at one point. Great. You get there. That doesn't mean that has to be the end all. You enjoy for what it was, but you can be fluid in that as you're at a new spot now. Your goals can shift and that's okay. It doesn't have to be the same trajectory. You might be on your hiking path like we were, and we're like, whoa, this wasn't the direction we wanted to go.
Yeah.
I'm going to go somewhere else.
I'm going to scale a cliff.
I'm going to scale a cliff. We did not plan for that.
Then there's Brian. Yeah.
And that was
a memory. Go down here. It's like, Brian, that's not a marked trail.
That's not a marked trail. But what did Brian say about that? Right? He got to the same. He's like, I even the idea of it feeling a little bit not fearful, but you're like, hey, I felt alive,
enlivening. Yeah. So I went down this area that I thought, I can get down this area, and there was some cliffage. I kind of went down.
By the way, we tried to talk him out of it. We said this is not a good idea. He's like, no, I got it.
Speaking of the belief, though, speaking of the belief, and this was something that I actually did think about is. Okay, so I got into this little bit of a sticky situation where I was like, okay, it's going to be actually tough for me to get back up. But now I'm here and I got to get down. And I could see this going, poorly because just the angulation and stuff, it was kind of dicey. And, but I had to summon okay, well, I am here. And if I'm really conscious with each moment, what my body's doing what's happening in real time. And I plan it out as much as I can, but then just actually believe that I can do it. That's going to be the way that I'm going to get down. And so, and it's kind of a thrill. I mean, of course I didn't intentionally put myself in that position, at least not consciously, but, it's a little bit of a thrill to realize like, okay, I'm facing something dangerous. And right now I have to choose confidence and faith, because if you hesitate in a moment like that, I just knew like, if I hesitate, I slip, I fall, it could be a bad outcome here. So you just have to just trust that like, okay, I just got to be very present in this moment. And when you do have to hyper focus to that degree and there's something on the line, it does feel enlivening because you're willing to face death, so to speak. Like only, it's been said that only when you are willing to face death can you truly live, because you let go of fear then to some degree, like, am I going to survive this? And I think that's true metaphorically, too, like in our practices and stuff. If you believe like that you can go through this, whatever it is, and that you can be better because of it, then there's something there that gets you through the hard times.
Well, then surrendering to the moment too. It's like you didn't sit there being like, I wish I was somewhere else. I shouldn't have done this, or maybe you did. I don't know. But you're like, hey, I'm in this.
Accepting reality.
Yeah.
Down. That's another part of it too. Is why waste any thought about going back up the mountain?
Well, and it was more precarious going up. I judged because I kind of went up like, okay, the way down is actually, although dicey, it's less dicey than going back.
We were actually planning on who was going to have to pay for your funeral. We were all going to pitch in, but my vote
who's
was...
going to call the Sedona Uber?
Chris would have done it all.
Yeah.
Chris would have done it all.
We've read a lot into this journey of yours, going off on this alternate dangerous path. And as we're talking about this, something from our Mother's Day episode is starting to come into my mind, where Diana says that you have this thing where you like to pee outside. And I'm starting to wonder.
That was the real reason.
That was probably.
Was this really about some kind of existential journey you were taking, or did you just try to go pee and you got stuck?
It wasn't more than pee.
First of all, before
was the outcome.
Did you pee while you were on that trip?
Pee was the outcome at the bottom. At the bottom. After I survived death.
It was all about your celebration.
I've been celebrating. Some do it with a bottle of champagne. I do it with urinating.
That came out
Brian
here.
comes back. Like at the end of the hike, I was like, Brian, you did the entire hike without peeing. He's like, no, I did once. And I was like, he was with us the entire time.
He will scale a cliff rather than pee on the side with all the people around.
And that comes back to play too. It's like, all these metaphors. Sometimes it's just like something as random as like, really, I just had to pee.
That's really what it was. Yeah, and it's worth doing this.
I'm thinking of the deeper psychological
into a heroic journey.
It's far less heroic now. I don't know.
I know. It just feels great.
Did you do it off the cliff, or did you wait till you got to the
No,
bottom?
it was at the bottom.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, celebrating with the spoils.
Awesome. Well, forget all the symbolism. Now I know what it really was about. I appreciate that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this kind of goes into this topic of spirituality. We talk about receptivity and how, certain religions, or it doesn't have to be a religion, but a spiritual pathway can sort of provide the means to adopt the correct mindsets, or the mindsets that are going to serve you, or even just being receptive to the universe and, being satisfied, being happy with whatever happens. So we all come from like slightly different backgrounds when it comes to religion. I think that religion, spirituality has played a role in all of our lives, probably a pretty intimate role. I think Brian and I had like kind of a different journey with it, coming like out of certain types of religion, so to speak, and then maybe trying to find something new to replace that. Chris and Grant, I believe you guys are still practicing within your religions. Let's talk a little bit about how that serves us, and the role of spirituality in awe, wonder, truth seeking. That's one thing for me. I'm very much about truth seeking, and I think that's where sometimes some of the religions I come into conflict with. Sure. Why don't we just start with that? So what is the connection between religion, spirituality, and truth? Is there a connection? Is there a tension between the two?
Absolutely.
Is there? Well, let's talk about that. So how do you see the interplay between those two?
Well, again, so in religion, we're dealing with abstract concepts. And so the minute something's abstract, and the minute you put words to something, you're trying to label something and define something, you've now narrowed the scope of what it actually is. It's so much more than what you can define. It's so much more than what you can see, because you can only see it from the perspective you can see it. Going back to the thing about Jenny and the different perspectives or the different ways of seeking this stuff. So the danger in religion is you have to put words to a concept, and now it's a story. And now it's, do I believe this story or not this story? Rather than, do I believe the base underlying principle that the story came out of?
Yeah.
And I think if you can get to that place and realize, oh, these are all just ways of explaining things, like very fundamental, answering very fundamental questions. But even the answer doesn't really suffice, because again, it's explained with words and it's understood in our left brain by our logic, which is limited. So I think trying to use our left brain in spirituality can only get you so far. So you do have to incorporate this creative side of you and integrate the two fully. And so I think, for me, what I have found is, the part of me that used to really get bothered that like these factual things don't add up, and nobody will address this, or why can't they, it doesn't fit, what's going on here? And I was more focused on the reality, like that what I saw is like the reality of the factual world, the material world, right? And then I think what I didn't see is, well, of course, yes, that is true. But again, simultaneously, but this is the only means we have.
Yeah.
We only have this means of words and abstract concepts to try and understand this thing. And, we've talked about just connecting. I think the power in just connecting is you really understand, and going back to like being, individualistic or not, that we're actually all so dependent, is when you're a part of something bigger than yourself, you feel like this is where I belong. And I think that speaks to something spiritual.
Well, I think what you said, that's such a good point about the desire for us to understand and know is a safety mechanism that we're seeking, so we know what's going to happen. I mean, you look at a lot of early stage religious talk is, well, what's going to happen when I die, and how can I prepare for that so I'm safe? Rather than living in the moment, living in the now, and acting as if, I'm going to live now, not for death and an afterlife. It's now I'm going to live in this life now. And what if it's all a continuous, beautiful thing? We just don't know. And I think it was said over and over in the Bible. It's like, like my ways are beyond your understanding. Not once in the Bible does it say know everything, or it. In fact, it actually quite, contradicts that. It almost says, faith is the routine thing that keeps coming up. That's just a very consistent faith, forgiveness, all sorts of things that a letting go, a surrender to what is, and being careful not to know too much. Yeah. Now, at the same time, I think if I look at the trajectory of my religious experience, I'm grateful for the foundational items that I learned as a kid, because now I understand the box. I understand the boundaries. I understand what the religious context is, which I think is somewhat reflected in the Old Testament scriptures. Now you get you go through things in life because you've wrestled with those things. Yeah. Now that you've wrestled with them, you haven't been perfect. You've lived a little life. Now you see those same teachings with a new lens. Yeah. And that arc is very common and now I see it, not just, I'm like looking at this and saying, you know what, this isn't something that's just exclusive to Christianity. Yeah. It's actually being described in Buddhism. It's being described in a lot of different things. They're just various perspectives of this God experience we're all having. Yes. And instead of us all arguing over whose perspective is more right, what if we just let everyone enjoy their own perspective? Yes. And then nobody knows. So let's I can just say that, well, that's your perspective. That's great. Because when it comes down to it, God is God as God is. Right. We don't change that, no matter what my opinion is.
And God is as he or she is with you individually.
Yeah, exactly.
And my experience of that might be white because I'm different.
Yes.
I see things just like you talked about projecting on. We had a conversation this weekend where you said, you understood, Andy, how we project onto other people.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And I think we do the same thing with God. And so, and again, even trying to understand that concept, God. Now what goes in your mind? Was it this white bearded person, or is it this image, or is it that image? Immediately your mind goes to something. If you can just let go and say, I have no idea, but this is just something's incredible about this. Something's incredible about living.
Well, I think that
being conscious.
I think the idea that, you know, letting you be you and me be me and have our own experiences in this trajectory of life is one of the most authentic, loving, God type connections you can have. Like even Andy saying, hey, you know, from a secular perspective, or from not one part of me says in this moment, I want to change him from where he's at right now.
Yeah.
I enjoy this discussion because I'm letting him be him. It doesn't mean I won't speak what my experience is too, but we create that space for each other, and then authentic, real connection can come from that, which really is, I feel like, God type love energy that you're sharing together in those moments. So you be you, I be me. Doesn't mean, you know, if you be you involves punching me in the eye, I'm going to set a boundary there, obviously. But
see, this is what I was kind of bringing up before. You know, coming from a secular perspective here, it's there is a tendency for people to get so identified with their religions, their tribes, so to speak, that it becomes a threat that anyone could possibly believe anything else.
Yeah,
and to me,
yeah.
on one level, that represents an insecurity in your own beliefs. You know,
Fear.
like if I'm so confident, you know, it's like the table that we're on right now. It's like I say this table is copper. You say it's made of wood, and I'm like, well, you're an idiot, but I don't really care because it's clearly made of copper and like whatever. You know,
Why argue it?
right? Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But if I'm looking at this and I'm like, you know, I can't tell what this is made out of, but you know, I think it's copper, and you know, I'm gonna base my life around this. Like I'm gonna use the electric conductivity of this table for some contraption that I'm making that like makes my life better or makes my ability to live. Weird example, I know, but let's
now
just
you're
go with
personally
it.
invested in it.
Now I'm personally invested
Now there's
in
something
it.
to lose if it's not
And now
true.
there's something to lose. And then if
That's
you say
the
it's
key.
wood,
That's
now
the key.
I can no longer get the approval to
That's
turn
the
this
key.
into the life enhancing tool that I need
Right.
that I need to
It's
make it into.
threatening now.
And now if we're
Yes.
trying to convince Grant, because Grant's the arbiter. Grant's the one who decides how we use this table. And then you're like, well, it's made of wood. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He can't use it for that. And I'm like, no. Like, look at it, Grant. Like, can't you see? And it's like, and not only that, but now, you know what? I kind of want to expel you from the group altogether, or just shame you or chastise you because your beliefs now threaten my existence or my ego, my idea of what needs to be. And I think that there is a danger in that with religion if you become over-identified with the literal translation of it.
And even God's greatest commandment, if we're looking at it from a biblical perspective, is love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
And that tenet is in all of the major religions. And so, but then one asks, well, what if they're of a different faith, or what if they cross my boundary or whatever? And then I like to put in this, Jesus didn't actually say this, but, well, did I stutter?
Yeah.
Right? What's
Love
the
your
core
enemy.
of this? Well, we know there's something, I mean, for me, there's something greater. I don't believe out of chance all of this beauty has come. There's some intelligent design, but for us to get polarized and fight each other over that is not the idea, and not, I think, what the great deity would want.
What I found too, that commandment's interesting. Love your neighbor as yourself. And I think it's obviously a very profound part of the teachings of Jesus. Oftentimes I think we forget to love ourselves first, because if he says love your neighbor as yourself, you look at how many relationships actually maybe dissolve, or you see things coming up because you don't love yourself. And it's getting reflected back to you in that moment.
Yeah.
And so in order to love someone to the degree that you are called to, there needs to be a self-love, not in a selfish way, but in a God type experience way. Be like, not that I'm perfect, but that I'm loved wholly as I am. Because when you can love yourself wholly as you are, you have more expansive ability to do that for someone else. And now you're no longer threatened by their differences.
Hey Pearlers, check out this testimonial from Dr. Jacob Koch, a first-time attendee, on his experience at the MOPC and why you won't want to miss this year's MOPC at the Kennedy Space Center.
You're going to miss interacting with some amazing orthodontists, amazing team members, and amazing great vendors. You're going to miss experiencing just conversations outside of the lectures are really enlightening. I've had a great time. I actually have gone to a lot of vendor meetings that were put on with the product, and it was too much like showcasing perfect, pretty cases and not showing the real world. And so a meeting like this, it shows the real world. It's not a sales pitch, the company showing you all their best results and hiding all the garbage behind the scenes. It's just real. It's real. That's how I can describe it. It's like a real meeting where there's real people sharing real ideas and real experiences. I like genuine. I like when things are genuine and it's put on by very genuine people who genuinely want to make an amazing experience. So that's what makes it different. I've actually always wanted to come. This is the first time I've come, and I'm thinking, why the heck did I not come before? Because it's so many people that are like-minded like me. So it's been great to connect with them and connect and grow and learn and improve not just our practices, but our lives and everything we do. So I'm loving it.
Be sure to log on to orthodonticpearls.org today to register for one of our last remaining seats at the Mother of Pearls Conference this October 10th through 11th at the Kennedy Space Center. Register at orthodonticpearls.org today.
Back to our first topic about the energy and like the interplay between your circumstances and your energy. I think that on some level it is a privileged perspective to, be sitting at the top of a mountain right now, looking over here with an air conditioned room and like we ate well this morning. We got everything we need. And to say like, live and let live, Yeah. But like, you think about certain holy wars that have been fought and are being fought, and it's over, it can be literally over a scarcity of resources. I mean, that could be the driving force, and then the religions kind of form around that myth that forms. It could be over like you literally are holding my family hostage, or you're killing my family, and it's not a live or let live situation at that point. And you could say that, you could definitely say, well, they need to adopt that mindset, but then who's the one who turns the other cheek and sacrifices their own child so that they don't propagate more violence?
Yeah. Well, it becomes real. It becomes real, right? Yeah. When you're confronted with it. And I think, something that's important, to Grant's point is loving yourself in your humanity, like actually accepting the parts of yourself that you kind of just, if you notice like your own thoughts and you notice your own reactions, even toward your own behaviors and stuff, and you notice your feelings associated with those, and you notice that there's something I'm ashamed about myself, or this, that, or the other. And you realize, no, that's not the path. The path is humbly accepting that, I'm human. This is what it is to be human. It's to be, it's to wish that I were more. It's to, but painstakingly be able to say, you know what? But I'm okay the way I am, because guess what? Everyone else is just like me in some iteration. Really, like look through, you go through history, if you study history, and you see this is the same story that's been playing out since the beginning of time for humanity, just over and over in different iterations. So I think accepting your humanity is a really important part of loving yourself, and loving, but not in a celebratory way. Just like, I love myself because what else can I be other than human? And everyone else has to do the same thing. And guess what? They're flawed just like me, just in different ways.
Sounds like you're describing unconditional love, which is a hard thing to get to. But like a truly unconditional love, if you're gonna have that for anyone else, it's gotta start with you. I think I'm probably the most recent father of the group here, and like the love that I feel for my kids, is like, it's just so, it takes no effort. Yeah. It's just like so inherent, and it's so unconditional, even when, my daughter's being such a little brat, and like, she's reminding me of me, and I'm like, oh, you just,
That's such a good point, because it's like, you get to experience that with a child in a way that you probably, wouldn't know otherwise. Yeah. And unconditional love is something I think we do experience from the divine, if you are open to it, and it's how we are seen by a God that's bigger than us, or whatever you believe in.
That's probably the foundational, that's the keystone.
It is.
Of a relationship.
And I used to, like, if you would have talked to me about even a year or two ago, I would have been like, unconditional love is the answer. But now I'm starting to see how there can be a mix of both that is necessary to really become who you need to become. And you look at the parenting figures, there is a mix of unconditional love and conditional love that can coexist together. I think that sometimes, like, if you looked at your kid and like, I'm always accepting all the time of everything, that it doesn't mean you don't love them, but there are times where you say there are conditions that will that I'm going to place on you in these moments. And it doesn't mean you stop loving them ever, but for instance, like my kid's mother is much better at, creating structure and conditions and things like that in their lives that really helps them, where I'm kind of more of a free-flowing, free-for-all, anything goes. I see how they both can coexist.
Yes.
My mind doesn't want to believe, wants to resolve this. Everything has to be one or the other. But I'm now more open to the idea you can have both somehow. They can coexist.
I think the key is, how are we defining love?
Yeah.
Right? Because for me, I've solved that in my own mind as being more inclusive of the word love, and say,
yes,
well, overarching, I always love them.
Yes.
And I can even love people that, I talked with you guys this weekend about meeting somebody that I had to spend some time with somebody that I was just didn't like after a number of hours. And I thought, I mean, it was fine, but I just was thinking about it. I thought, but at the end of that, I started thinking about this type of personality and why do I not like it? And what is it about me that it reflects, honestly? Or what is it about me that I wish weren't a part of me? I've tried to reject that part. And realizing, but there's a place for this kind of person, even though I personally don't really like spending time with this person, I can actually love this person, that this person serves a real purpose in our society. If there weren't people like this, we would be out of balance.
Well, it's interesting you bring up love too, because it's like, I think I've discovered that, I really do think a lot of life is discovering what that means.
Yeah.
What love means?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you look at love, I think, and again, a couple of years ago, I thought you could shut out love. You really can. Love is always free flowing.
Yeah.
So if you look at relationships, I kind of view it like if you create a boundary with someone, whether it's a family member or someone, or you say, I'm going to love you from a distance, that's not actually taking love off the table. That's always flowing. It's creating a boundary and taking everything off the table that isn't love.
Yes. I think unconditional love and conditional liking is a better way to think of it.
That's a better way.
I can conditionally not like you.
Yes.
But you know what? I love you. And I've had to get there with, relationships and just realizing that I'm just the same way to the other person.
Yeah.
And unless I can actually accept that, oh man, I have to be grateful for this and actually love. And I would say I've arrived there in the most difficult relationships.
Yes.
Or I already was there, but especially in the I think sharing children with somebody, especially when there are maybe differences and maybe there's a history that's difficult, can be such a hard thing. Such a hard thing to love. Yeah. But what I've realized is, I by changing the way that I see love, and I define love, which is now putting it into a box, but putting maybe making the borders more expansive, right?
Yeah.
Like, what is love? Well, love would be accepting reality that I'm not going to mesh with this person. I should need to limit my interactions with this person. This person is damaging me. Why? Because I accept my humanity, that I am mortal. They do affect me. Their energy does affect me. I'm not like, I can't be so arrogant to think I can just throw myself into any situation that doesn't affect me. To your point, Andy,
you have control of your mindset, but to an extent,
more realistic
at some point,
standpoint.
When your child is kidnapped, there's no amount of mindset that's going to get you out of that.
So
maybe if you're
it's always trying to hedge your
bets, right? But let's be honest, that's going to affect your energy level.
I think hedging your bets, and again, accepting your humanity, that I have limited resources and I have to be a wise steward over those. And that does include my energy levels and these type of things. But anyway, so how I've gotten to a place of peace with that concept is more zooming out and saying, well, no, love would be, instead of me getting so perturbed, I can say, they're doing that funny thing again. And you know what? I do funny things too to them. Yeah. Or I'm sure things that are just annoying as can be. Mm-hmm. Just like I would, to your point earlier, I would be annoyed with myself being with myself all the time, right? Yeah. But if you can get to the point of, I would be annoyed with myself, and then I'd be able to sort of lovingly dust myself out, but you know what, you're just great the way you are too.
And every person is superior to you in some way, and of that I learn from them. And I've done that before too, where I'm with someone, I'm like, I don't know if I'm jiving with this person, but I give it a little more time. I go, oh wow, something really great came out of that.
Yeah.
Just because you have that curiosity, right?
Sure, that they're different. I think initially we're quick to repel someone who doesn't jive with that, but sometimes when you dive a little deeper and you see their experience and you're open to that, it can really go far. Like you think of the cocktail example, you're sitting there with someone, the excuse out of it is, I'm going to go get another drink. Sometimes maybe sit there and enjoy that drink a little longer and kind of dive in a bit more and kind of learn from that person. I've done that before too. It was like at a Christmas party, some guy was talking about something totally unrelated and segued into something we had a commonality about, and it actually changed a daily routine that I do that I would not have expected at all. So, just kind of embracing things for what they are and being present. I mean, one of the big takeaways I had to kind of wrap this up was, Grant, you talked about being a child, like the most present person that really takes in the world as it is as a child, because they're not thinking about their next meal or anything. They're just like, you're home, you're going down a water slide. They are like in that moment feeling the water,
Yeah.
Like let's all remember to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good, man.
Well, I love where this is going, and I think that this is going to tie in a little bit to what you talk about, Grant. On stage and what's coming up at MOPC. Spirituality certainly has a connection to team culture and your own mindset as a leader. I'd like to take just a few minutes and maybe do a soft preview of what's to come. For this MOPC talk you're going to be giving in October here. So I'll leave it kind of open to you, but I'm assuming that we're going to be talking a little about customer service, team culture, your usual stuff. And maybe connect to some of the earlier themes or the lessons that we've learned so far on this trip.
Well, I think what's interesting is I talked to you about this too. I've always been a big team culture, leadership, customer service, but I'm excited to continually, kind of just bring those topics up with a new lens every year, because I've had another year of life experience. And so my perspective doesn't change with the foundational items, but it changes with how I can see them and experience them and teach them. But with this one, I mean, I had originally planned and still probably will, Chris, but I told Chris, like 2 days ago, I was like, hey, I might completely change my topic right before. I know I'm supposed to go first, and I haven't really done anything with it. And I'm sure, I'm like, trust me though, Chris.
But the creative geniuses often do that.
Yeah. So I'm just, I'm putting together really what happens when things go wrong in the office. I feel like we excel at that at our office really well. When things do go wrong, we're just very good at handling that. It's not saying things go wrong all the time, but the idea is that it happens. You can't plan. A lot of team meetings and team will plan for how to make things not go wrong. Right. And that's really where the conversation ends. And so we all expect it to go right. And then when something does go wrong, we all panic and blame because we don't know what to do, because this is what we talked about. And it's easier to say, well, who did it wrong? And now we're going to go back to the team and shame people and get it right next time. Now, I'm not saying there's a place for, if things are consistently going wrong over and over again, you revisit the system or the training. But I'm saying there's going to be stuff that goes wrong. You got to be prepared for it. You got to understand how to handle it so that it can be handled, with great service. So that can be handled in alignment with your values, and so you don't have to go get the owner every time something goes wrong. You have to empower your people to do it. That's the idea of the concept. Whether I stick to that, I told Chris yesterday, I've been dying to teach people a little bit more of the social media side of things at some point too. I think people would love to know that, since it's an area that is I enjoy. It's an area that I truly do find a lot of. It's editing a video. I can get lost in it for 3 or 4 hours and not even feel like 10 minutes. As much as it is fun to get the affirmations from the world and be the braces guy, that's really the creative process. It's the hike up the mountain that's fun for me. Not as much the picture at the top, still fun, but that's how I feel. So whether I bring that in, and whether I fold that into it or shift directions, it will be fun no matter what we talk about. And I do think it's gonna be a great meeting.
You'll figure it out, right?
I will. It'll be surprising to everybody. Chris, I promise I'll figure it out.
You always do, man.
I always do, man. I'll bring it no matter what I talk about.
Well, I appreciate that, Grant. I'm really looking forward to your talk. It's in my opinion, the highlight of MOPC every year. You've been the keynote speaker over the past 2 years?
Third year, yeah.
Third year.
Wow,
third year in a row. Yep, there it is.
Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then you'll be, we just recorded some tracks for you too, so you'll be kind of singing up there with your guitar.
Singing and everything.
Is it Tom Petty again? Are we doing the Tom Petty?
No, we're changing it up this year.
We'll see. You got to see what it is. I want it to be a surprise.
All right. Can we have like a genre or a theme or anything? Any kind of hints?
Listen, you just see kind of nervous, sweaty me up there, and that's the only hint I'm going to give you. So you'll see what it is, but no hints yet.
I'll take as much nervous, sweaty Grant as I can.
Okay. Just anyway, like the hike.
Great way to wrap the show up.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
Granted, I was on the hike and I was about to die, and Andy looked at me with his air conditioned. what even was that?
His goofy hat.
Yeah, he had like an air conditioned thing around his neck.
He had a Camelback water thing.
Yeah, and he looks at me. I'm almost dead at this point, and he's like, I think you'll make it. He didn't offer the air conditioning. Yeah. All the other guys were saying you should give it to Grant, right?
Look, give a man an AC unit and he'll be cool for a few minutes, but
teach a man to fish, right?
Yeah, exactly. Teach him why he was a bonehead to go up there with like no backpack and no water and like no sun protection, and he'll probably never go on a trip with you again.
Andy, you're the greatest
spiritual experience, right? Even if we die, I'm like, hey.
You're the real teacher, Andy. You are the real teacher.
What's funny about that is we were talking earlier about like the nature of generosity and like privilege and stuff, and I like had this whole thing like, okay, like Grant, I was saying like, when you're in a state of privilege, you want to justify why you deserve that privilege over other people. And, I was coming down kind of hard on him, talking about you want to, like certain people, if they have a lot of money, they see the homeless person, they're like, well, I worked hard for this and you could have worked hard. And because of that, I don't owe you anything. So like, good luck with your life, sucker, that kind of thing. And then we're out on the trail and I got my little portable neck fan and like with the AC.
Universe has an interesting sense of humor.
Ryan looks at me, he's like, hey, Andy.
Privileged one.
I look Grant straight in the eye and I'm like, hey, man, I planned ahead. I bought this with my money that I earned, and you deserve to be there.
Could you spell Grant with one of your excess items here?
Yeah, anything.
Nothing.
He could carry my water for me. I'll give him the backpack.
Yeah. I proved I could survive. And then,
you did. I didn't want to take that from you.
Yeah, and you did.
Very generous.
And I'm forever grateful.
Andy's kind of generosity. It doesn't come across as generous, but if you really look deeply somewhere, you can
pretty deep.
Find it.
Yeah. I don't think it was that deep. I really don't. I think this one was pretty shallow. I think there's nothing deep about it.
See for what it is.
See for what it is. Andy just whatever.
Let's wrap up real quick. Everyone go around the table. Just say one insight or takeaway you've had from the weekend. Brian, you want to start first?
We've already mentioned these things, but I think being intentional and actually committing.
Yeah.
Making commitments and keeping commitments and realizing that what you commit to is important and keeping your word is important and making time is important. Yeah. It goes back to all the things you said, but the number of hours and just recognizing we have limited resources. So I think that's really great. And truly, I really like the way good friendships challenge you and inspire you. Because you realize that they are challenging. We spoke about tension. There has to be some kind of tension to make it interesting. And so you realize, and it's so great. Like, it's so great that you guys are all better than me in these multiple ways. And I think just hearing how good Chris is at being efficient. And we were talking this morning about like sleep. I don't get that much sleep a night. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I don't need it or if I'm just programmed this way. So I've been investing more in like sleep, hygiene. And like, no, I'm going to be more intentional about it. Speaking of, but to know how productive Chris is, and then of course, I guess I shouldn't have been surprised, but this morning he says, well, I aim for about 8 hours a night, and I do. I get it. I go to bed, early at 9, and I get up at 5:30 or whatever. I thought, wow, you're even so intentional in that. So I think, but that's just an example. But you each do that, in different ways. That I do feel challenged and inspired. And again, just because there's like hey, you guys, good friends are going to be able to accept with love the whole of somebody. Yeah. Right. And and enjoy the person for who they are. Because you're not focused on the negatives, right? Because now you're blinded to all these great things.
Yes.
If you're focused on the negatives or the way that it's threatening or the way that there's you're now missing so much. And so I just think it's really great. And that to me is the takeaway.
I would say this weekend, as someone who prides himself on doing it alone a lot, I've gone on a lot of solo trips. I've enjoyed every bit of it, still love that component of it. I do see the value of interdependence and understand and trying to realize, hey, you can lean on other people and how important that is to have that in your life. Maybe not not as much of the codependence type thing. I don't need other people to make me whole, but to really, the interdependence and the power of that with people around you. So I think that concept was made clear to me this weekend.
Love it.
So
The biggest thing for me was taking action and making it happen. Brian scaling that cliff, he could not do it 70 and survived. So do it now, schedule it now, look ahead, reach out to colleagues and schedule something like this. The other big takeaway for me was being fully present. Talked to Grant a lot this weekend about being present. He's one of the most present people I know. And I struggle with that, being very intentional on being successful in the next step and getting things done. And my checklist, it's hard to really let go and hear what you're hearing, see what you're looking at, and actually taste what you're eating, right? Like the beauty of that. So it really just opened my mind to kind of taking a step back and realizing what life's all about and the beauty of the moment, and then making it intentional to have these type of experiences more.
I think for me, we were talking a lot about energy, and that's something I focus a lot more on. Talking to you guys and Grant, we've spoken a lot about that, and just kind of paying attention to where, the force that creates in your life. So we were talking about the river that you're in, and like life is kind of like this river that is taking you. So in that sense, there's sort of a deterministic quality to it, but also you do have control over like which bank of the river you go to, or like how fast you're going in the current. You can't constantly be swimming against the current of your life. Some people try and they just exhaust themselves and get nowhere. But, so that does tie into the receptivity, just kind of flowing with the energy, and also recognizing where your energy naturally flows. So Grant, we were talking a little bit about manifestation, and there's certain things that come naturally to all of us. And if we were to just go the path of least resistance, some things would fall in our laps, and we just have to get out of the way of those things. And other things would be a real challenge for us. So I think being aware, being conscious of where your energy naturally flows. And then you can never counter that, but being conscious of how you channel that and where you might need to swim a little harder in other areas where you just need to get out of your own way. Yeah. And that's talking to you guys this weekend and just kind of seeing how we all interact and our lifestyles. It's pretty clear that is a personal thing, and I think that you need to come to terms with that. Love it, it is what it is, and just have that confidence that you're gonna figure it out.
Absolutely, that's interesting. You bringing that up too. You're looking at the flow of that river, and let's say you're rafting down it. You still have a paddle in your hand, sure, but the best rafters flow with the current. They're not there, but they still are paddling. They're still doing something. They're not just floating. So I think that's that, like you and I have always talked about, there's a balance of conscious action, correct, but flowing with what life is trying to show you, or the river's trying to show you. And that's where the sweet spot happens. You can see it with mogul skiing. You can see it with anything like that, where you're especially in nature. When you flow with nature, with whatever you're doing, that's when it does pretty cool stuff.
Observing things for what they are. That was such a big thing I got from you, was like any challenges in life, you look at your life from like a bird's eye view and just not analyze it as good or bad, but just seeing it how it is almost frees you from that. Same thing with the river, right? This river is taking you in this direction. We're in this stage of life. You've got an oar, you're paddling, but also like observe yourself from that third eye view and not get so wrapped up in when it's a challenge or consuming you. One
thing that's interesting is that with that example, you're actually using resistance to flow, right? So you're controlling it to some degree, but you're also letting go to some degree. Yeah. Right? So you're actually creating resistance with your oar, your paddle in the water to flow still. Like, again, you're not trying to go upstream. Yeah. So I think when you recognize that the resistance is part of the journey, okay, to an extent, but you're being carried along. The Stoics basically said, like, imagine you're like a dog on a leash getting pulled behind a cart. Like, you can either run with the cart and you're having to exert energy, but you're running with the cart, or you can just get dragged, but you're going to go there. Life's going to take you there. And so would you rather participate willingly, or would you rather be dragged against your will? Well, I'd rather participate willingly.
Well, guys, that wraps up our conversation here with Dr. Grant Collins in Sedona, Arizona. This one felt different, less like a podcast interview and more like a continuation of the talks we've been having all weekend, with just a few more microphones around. If you've enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. It helps more people discover these conversations. And if you own a business, whether it's a consulting service, a product, or something geared towards orthodontists, we'd love to talk about sponsorship opportunities. Our community is the largest orthodontist-only Facebook group in the world with over 9,500 members, and we're always looking for partners who want to connect with that audience. Sponsorships for this show or our group start as low as $150. To get the full sponsorship menu, email us at orthodonticpearls@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Orthodontic Pearls podcast.
Last year we were fortunate enough to come as well, but I feel like that really set the bar high. And so then this year I feel like everybody was super, super excited and thrilled to hear that we were going to be able to attend again. Like I said, the energy of this conference is just so lively. There's so much to do. Every detail is so thoroughly thought through that it's a blast. I was clinical. I kind of transitioned to admin. I feel like in every single lecture, no matter what team you're on, you can take something away from it. But then it's a perfect balance of we're here to learn and then also we're rewarded and get to do fun things. Especially at Collins, we all have really, really close bonds with each other. But I feel like this experience definitely allows us to make those relationships and bonds even stronger because here we get to have fun and really expand on those relationships. Dr. Collins always puts on a great show. At the clinic, we're so used to, our routines there, but it's fun to see him kind of just be able to let loose and just truly have a blast. Last year was USS Midway. This year was the house party at Dr. Teeter's house. And next year is at the U.S. Space Center.
Be sure to log on to orthodonticpearls.org today to see our lineup of speakers and incredible events we have planned for you. We'll be partying under a space shuttle. It will be absolutely incredible with music from the world's only all-orthodontist band, Relapse. If you've seen Relapse before, you should definitely come back again because every show is different, and this show will be out of this world. Register at orthodonticpearls.org today.